All right. Welcome back to the exciting book of Joshua. We're on chapter 13. Hallelujah. All right. Let's jump right in. Let me have my first reader read Joshua chapter 13, verses 1 through 3, please.
Now Joshua was old and stricken in years, and Yahuwah said unto him, Thou art old and stricken in years, and there remaineth yet very much land to be possessed. This is the land that yet remaineth, all the borders of the Philistines, and all of Geshuri, from Sihor, which is before Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron northward, which is counted to the Canaanite, 5 lords of the Philistines, the Gazathites, and the Ashdodites, and the Ashkelonites, and the Gittites, and the Ekronites, also the Avites.
Okay. I love Yah. He's just so forthright and straightforward. Joshua was old and stricken in years, and so Yahuwah said unto him, hey, buddy, you're old and stricken in years. So, in other words, it's about your time. It's almost your bedtime, but I still have some work for you to do, and so here it is in the scheme of things. This is about the time when Joshua is about to pass on, but before he does, Yah has something for him to do. He wants him to divide the land, and we're told that there remaineth yet very much land to be possessed, and that's real important there, so let's talk about the scheme of things, let's talk about the parallel, because, we're not just reading this for historical value, we're actually reading this to see how it applies to our lives now today, amen? Amen. Because the word teaches on 3 different levels simultaneously, teaches on yesterday, today, and tomorrow. All right, now we just read yesterday, those are the facts, that's what happened, this is what was said, now how does it apply to our lives now today? And that can only be learned from looking at things in proper perspective. And as we've been going through the book of Joshua, we're looking at ourselves as Israel. And as I've oftentimes said, Israel is a compound word. It's made up of 3 Hebrew words, Yish, Ra, and El. And Israel is anyone who wrestles, Ish, who wrestles with Ra, evil, and prevails by holding on to El, or Elohim. Which is exactly how Yaakov received the blessing of the name to begin with. So here it is, in the scheme of things, we have Israel who's come out of Egypt. They've been led through the wilderness. They've gotten to the border of the Jordan. They've crossed over the Jordan, and, Yah has begun to give them the land. Okay? So now I want you to, picture yourself in this story. See, because the same way of Elohim that they had to travel is the same way of Elohim we have to travel. And it was the same way of Elohim that Yahshua traveled. Now, I was putting this lesson together, and I was actually praying, and Yah began to speak to my spirit and tell me, hey, well, he didn't actually say hey, but he began to put into my spirit that there is a difference. That everything in the Word, is, one of the hardest things when studying Scripture or going through Scripture is to see everything that's being presented. Sometimes that's a difficult thing, to see everything that's being presented, to see everything that Yah is trying to bring across, or that's actually there. And one of the things that he was pointing out to me was, have you ever noticed it speaks of the times, what Moshe did. And then it speaks of what Joshua did. And that's a real important tidbit there. And what he began to teach me was that, everything that Israel did under the guidance of Moshe is everything that we're going to have to do, of course. And everything that Israel did under the guidance of Yahshua, likewise, we're going to have to do. And, he dropped something in my spirit that was really profound. And that was, he was saying to me that, let me get it right, that a lot of people today are trying, the Yahshua in them, a lot of people today, the Yahshua in them has skipped over the tutelage of Moshe. When we look at the account of Yahshua, he was baptized and the Spirit of the Most High fell upon him. And then he was led straight into ministry, right? No. He was led straight into the wilderness. And see, and this is what Yah was putting on my heart, is that a lot of the people now today, their Yahshua has not went into that wilderness. Their Yahshua just went straight into ministry. See, but you cannot skip the wilderness experience, even as Yahshua did not skip the wilderness experience. See, because it's this wilderness experience that is the teachings of Moshe that teaches us how to be holy and clean. In fact, it's in the wilderness that you're actually fathered from above or born again. See, that happens in the wilderness. See, no one gets to cross the Jordan the same way that they left up out of the world. Only those that were born in the wilderness are able to cross the Jordan. Can you see where I'm going with this? See, what he began to drop in my spirit is that the Yahshua in so many people now today has no wilderness experience. Those that are following Yahshua, they want to skip over the wilderness experience. See, the teachings of Moshe, the teachings in which the Most High gave unto Moshe, was to transform us. No one that came out of the world, came out of Egypt during that time and went through that wilderness experience ever was the same again. See, but a lot of people want to skip that wilderness experience because they don't want to die in that wilderness. See, but Yahshua forewarned us of this. He said, those who seek to save their lives shall lose them. And those who lose them for his name's sake shall save them. You can't skip the wilderness experience no more than Yahshua didn't skip the wilderness experience. And we all must go into this wilderness to be tempted of the enemy. And that enemy, for most of us, most of it is within us. In all actuality. We see when Yahshua was fighting the enemy in the wilderness, how did he defeat him? Which word? Moshe's word. The word that was delivered unto Moshe. That's how he defeated the enemy. For it is written, for it is written, for it is written. Well, there wasn't anything written at that time except for Torah. The Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, hadn't been written yet. His ministry couldn't even begin until after he overcame that wilderness experience. And I'm here to tell you it's the same for each and every one of us. Your ministry cannot begin until after you've overcome that wilderness experience. You know, so that's real important to understand, you know, because we're about to get into where Israel conquered some of the land on the east side of the Jordan, you know, under the tutelage of Moshe or through following Moshe. See, everything on the east side of the Jordan, they had to follow Moshe. But when you get on the west side of the Jordan, you know, then they were following Joshua. You know, so if we are to overcome as they overcame, then we're going to have to follow Moshe through the wilderness experience. Anybody see that?
Yes.
You know, it was quite interesting. You know, y'all was putting on my heart. He was, you know, he was saying, you know, look at Moses' name. Moses' name means drawing out. You know, and he drew out all of Israel out of Mitzrayim. You know, and all while he was drawing them out and going through that wilderness experience, he had a disciple. He had a disciple. You know, and that disciple was Joshua. You know, and y'all begin to show me that there's a parallel betwixt the Father and the Son in like manner. You know, in Joshua 6:43 through 45, it says, Yahushua therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him. And I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of Elohim. Every man therefore that hath heard and hath learned of the Father cometh unto me. You know, there's another place where Yahshua says, you know, that he was only doing the things that he's seen his Father do. You know, and what y'all begin to drop into my spirit is that Yahshua was watching his Father as he was dealing with Israel in the wilderness. Even as Joshua was watching Moshe as he was dealing with Israel in the wilderness. So here we see that the Father draws, and also Moshe name means drawn out. Now, it's more than a coincidence that Moshe's disciple was name is Yahushua. He was called Yahushua, and the Heavenly Father's son that he discipled is also named Yahushua. You know, so if you want to see how this thing works, you know, you have to understand that in order to conquer what's on the west side of the Jordan, you're going to have to follow Yahushua. But in order to get on the west side of the Jordan, you have to go through the wilderness experience, and you have to follow Moshe, and you have to conquer what they conquered on the east side of the Jordan. You know, so many people are just stuck at the border. They can't cross over. They can't cross over because they not in the spiritual realm, not in reality, because spirit is more reality than is natural. You know, so in the reality of the spiritual realm, they can't cross over because they won't allow themselves to die in the wilderness and be fathered from above. So that reborn man, that spiritual man that's born in the wilderness can travel across the Jordan. Okay, so I'm giving you a backdrop because, you know, we're about to get into this. Now, it tells us, it says, this is the land that yet remaineth, all the borders of the Philistines and Geshuri. Now, what we have to understand is that You know, this is the land that remains. So this is what's going to remain after Joshua is gone. This is going to be what Israel has to conquer on their own. Okay? You know, first they were up under the tutelage following Moshe, and then they were up under the tutelage following Joshua. But now Moshe and Joshua is gone, and now they're going to be on their own. And they're going to they still have very much land to be possessed. So that means we have a lot of work to do. Amen? You know, because Moshe gone, and spiritually speaking, and Joshua gone, spiritually speaking, and we're left with one another. Amen? You know, the house of Israel, and we have to fend for ourselves. You know, we still have Yah working with us from on high, but there's still very much land to be possessed. Okay? Now, this is the land that remains. All the borders of the Philistines and Geshuri. Philistines means immigrants, and Geshuri means to join or bridge. You know, sounds to me like a bridge for the immigrants to come over. You know, but here it is. This is what remains. You know, so Yah has given us these immigrants land, and He's given us Geshuri. You know, He says that the victory is ours. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have to fight. That doesn't mean that we're just going to stand here and it's all just going to be handed over to us on a silver platter. That's not what happened with natural Israel, and it's not going to happen to us. Okay? You know, now it says from Sihor, which is before Mizraim or Egypt, even unto the borders of Ekron, northward, which is counted to the Canaanite, the Philistines, the Gazathites, the Ashtrathites, the Ashkelonites, the Gittites, the Ekronites, and the Abites. Now we need to understand these because these are our enemies. Amen. These are the ones that are in the land, you know, that Joshua nor Moshe conquered. So we're gonna have to deal with these on our own, you know, only with Yah as our guide. Amen. Okay, so let's look and see what these terms speak to. First of all, Sihor, you know, speaks to something that's dark, black, or trouble. And Mizraim or Egypt speaks to devil traits. You know, so from the darkness, from the things that are darkness to devil traits or devil persecution, if you would, Yah has given us the victory. So when things get dark in your life, you know, when you're following this thing, when you're walking in the way that leadeth unto Elohim, you're trying to achieve eternal life, and things get dark, and you find yourself in devil straits, the persecution is on twofold, seemingly, know that Yah has still given us the victory. Yes. Amen? Amen. All the way up to the borders of Ekron. You know, Ekron means uprooting or eradication. So what Scripture is teaching us is that we can find ourselves in a dark place, you know, that with devil persecution, even to the point where it seems like we're about to be uprooted or eradicated. You know, it may seem that way, but Yah has given us the victory. Yes. And we can overcome this situation or circumstance, you know, within the land. That's right. If we just continue to follow the way of Elohim. Yes. Amen? Amen. Okay, now this is the territory that we've been given. Now the enemies that dwell within the territory that we've been given is first and foremost northward. Northward, or north, means hidden. You know, so our enemies on the north, they're going to be hidden. You know, and that's real important, see, because it's real important to know because, you know, a big part of our land is the land of the Philistines, the borders of the Philistines and all Geshuri. So, you know, we have these immigrants that's, you know, they have a tendency to migrate, you know, and to try to join in with us. You know, enemies in the camp, so to speak. Tares amongst the wheat, so to speak. You know. So here it is. Our enemies are going to come in the form of merchants. You know, we're going to have some merchants that are going to try to come up against us and, you know, and shortchange us, you know, unjust balances, weights and scales. You know, we're going to have some Philistines, some immigrants that's going to try to, you know, blend in with us, migrate over into our fold. You know, maybe trying to hide as wolves in sheep clothing. We're going to have some Gazathites, some fortified, strong enemies. You can look forward to them. You know, but know that God's giving us the victory over them. The Ashdodites, you know, we're going to have those who's going to come up against us, you know, wanting to ravage us and spoil us. You know, and not spoil in a good way. You know, we're going to have some Ashkelonites, you know, that's going to come up against us with the fire of evil. They're going to seek to put us in their waiting place in hopes that we're found wanting. Okay? Some of our enemies are going to be hiding, you know, they're going to be at a wine press, and they're going to be looking for some grapes to squish so that they can make wine. And you know whose vine they're coming to get those grapes from, right?
Yeah.
Even the vine of Yahshua, amen?
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, they look at us as those grapes. You know, they're trying to take your love, your joy, your peace, your long-suffering, your meekness, you know, the fruit of the Spirit. You know, yeah, they want to take those and put them in the wine press so that they can get their drink on. All right? You know, we had the Ekronites. You know, they're going to be coming up against us in hopes of uprooting us, you know, causing that spiritual man that has been fathered from above to be uprooted or eradicated, trying to take him out. And our enemy's going to come at us as the Abites, as perverters. You know, not so much as perverts, but perverters. You know, that is, they're going to try to cause us to turn away from what is right.
Yeah.
Anybody ever had that happen?
Yeah.
You know, see, all this stuff is going to be taking place in the Israelite. So in each and every one of us is like that Israelite. And then all of us corporately is as that Israelite. You know, and worldwide, those who follow Yah are as that Israelite. Now verses 4 and 5 says, from the south, all the land of the Canaanites and Marad, that is beside the Sidonians, unto Aphek, to the borders of the Amorites, and the land of the Giblites, and all Lebanon toward the sun rising from Baal-gad under Mount Hermon unto the entering into Hamath. All right, south. The word south is Taman in the Hebrew number 8486, and it means the south. It also speaks to the right-hand side. You know, and what this tells us is that our enemies over to the south, they're going to be the strongest. These are our strongest enemies. The right-hand side is usually the strongest side. It's the most skillful side. So these are our strongest enemies. Our foes over to the south will be the most skillful, and they will be the strongest that we have to face. Well, let's see who's over there. We have some more merchants, some Canaanites, some more merchants that's over there, right? You know, we have Marah, you know, which means to strip or lay bare. Now, the Marah is beside the Sidonians. You know, now Sidonians means fish catchers. You know, now, the followers of Yahshua were likened unto what? Fish. You know, the ministers of Yahshua was likened unto fishermen. And he told them to go out and I will make you fishers of men. You know, so those who they caught were like fish. Okay, now, if the Sidonians is like those that Yahshua sent out, his apostles, that he sent out to catch fish, men, you know, fish that was likened unto men, we have Marah, which is beside the Sidonians, and they're beside them to strip and lay bare. You know, so you kind of see how that works. You know, you have the Sidonians who go out and catch the fish, but then you have Marah, you know, the enemy, there to strip and lay bare. They're stripping and laying bare the fish, that is. You know, so, you know, one catch them and the other one is trying to strip them and clean them and probably want to cook them too. You know, and then we have a fake. A fake means strength and also to restrain. And hereby we learn that our enemy is going to be strong and they're going to seek to restrain us. You know, to the borders of the Amorites. The Amorites, you know, means the satyrs, the mountaineers. We spoke about them, you know, the upperclassmen, you know, the 5% that's old, that think they're ruling the world. Emphasis on think. You know, the ones that are always saying stuff. You know, they said this, they said that, you know. So here it is. These are our enemies from the south, you know, in conjunction with the Gibeonites, you know, which they're going to come up against us in hopes of, you know, twisting us up. You know, Gibeonites means to twist. And it says, all Lebanon toward the sun rising. You know, now, all Lebanon towards the sun rising. Lebanon means white, and spiritually speaking, it speaks to righteousness. You know, now, all Lebanon toward the sun rising. Toward the sun rising speaks to the east, because the sun rises where? In the east. Okay? You know, and what this is a picture of, you know, our enemies being in all of Lebanon and all of righteousness towards the sun rising. That is going against the light. You know, so if we go against the light, you know, our enemies are going to be in righteousness going against the light. You know, we're supposed to be heading west anyway. You know, we came from the east. So, you know, if they're going against the light, then they're going against Yahshua because he is the light. You know, from Baal God, which is the Lord of good fortune, under Mount Hermon, which means a sanctuary or holy place, unto the entering of Hamath, which speaks to an enclosure or wrath. You know, so here it is, you know, we see our enemies are going to be, you know, as the righteous. Sounds kind of like the tares amongst the wheat, you know, but they're going to be toward the sun rising. They're going to be going against the light. Why? For good fortune. You know? And they're going to be under the sanctuary in the holy place. You know, this is a old school depiction of the tares amongst the wheat. You know, but if we fall victim to them, we're going to find ourselves in their enclosure of wrath. You know, and that's not a good place to be. You know, verses 6 through 8. And let me have my next reader read verses 6 through 8, please.
All the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon unto
Misreph, both of
them will I drive out from before the children of Israel. Only divide thou it be lot unto the Israelites for an inheritance, as I have commanded thee. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance unto the 9 tribes and the half tribe of Manasseh, with whom the Reubenites and the Gadites have received their inheritance, which Moses gave them beyond Jordan eastward, even as Moses the servant of Yahuwah gave them.
Okay, so also, you know, we have to destroy all the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon. That is, again, it speaks to righteousness unto Misreph Pothamayim, which means the burnings of water. We spoke about water depicting counsel. You know, so here it is of those who consume or burn good counsel. And all the Sidonians, the fish catchers, you know, those who are, you know, trying to catch fish not for Yahshua, but, you know, for their master. You know, and it says that, now therefore divide this land for an inheritance unto the 9 tribes. You know, and I even took liberty to to define the word 9, you know. It's a special number to me. It's actually Tesha number 8672, means 9. It comes from the idea of a term. It's from Shawa, or Sha'ah, number 8159, meaning to gaze at or about for help. You know, so it speaks to one who's gazing about for help, you know, usually from the Most High. All right, and in verse 8 we have, whom the Reubenites and the Gadites have received their inheritance, which Moshe gave them beyond Yarden, eastward, even as Moshe, the servant of Yahuwah, gave them. So now we're going to start talking about, you know, what the half-tribe of Manasseh inherited on the side east of the Yarden. Okay, now this is what I was talking about early on. You know, everything on the east of the Yarden happened up under the direction of Moshe. So, you know, to conquer these lands and to inherit these lands, you know, one has to follow Moshe. And then following Moshe, that is Torah, it will allow us to overcome these enemies. Okay? And so we'll start with verse 9, which gives us the borders from Aroer, that is upon the bank of the river Arnon, and the city that is in the midst of the river, and all the plain of Medeba unto Dibon. Aroer speaks to the nudity of the situation. You know, you ever been in a situation where feel like you've been exposed? You know, like you just in this, you know, everybody see you. There's no place to run or hide. You know, and it seems like the enemy is just about to devour you. You know, just remember that wherever you find yourself, if you're in righteousness, of course, and you find yourself in this type of situation, that also you're right there at the bank of the river Arnon. You're right there, you know, where you're going to be able to shout for joy. You know, you just have to hold on.
Yes.
You know, and it speaks of the plain of Medeba, water of quiet or rest or even grief. You know, this is what we're going to have to overcome. This is what we use what a lot of folks like to refer to as the Old Testament to overcome in our walk. You know, and Dibon meaning to mope or sorrow, wasting or abundance. You know, Yah has given us the victory over all this. He's given us the victory over the waters of grief. He's given us victory over the abundance of knowledge, of sorrow or wasting or moping. He's given us the victory over the nudity of the situation. You know, knowing that, you know, if we just hold on, we will be able to shout for joy. He's given us the victory. He's given these lands to us. We have the victory over it. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't have to fight through them. But it does mean that we're gonna have a victory. All we have to do is stay the course. Yep. Also, all the cities of Sihon, king of the Amorites, which reigned in Heshbon unto the border of the children of Ammon. You know, Sihon speaks to a warrior who's trying to come up against us and sweep or scrape us away, to root us out. He's an Amorite. He's one of the upperclassmen, if you would. One of the satyrs that's always saying stuff, you know, to try to cause us to be swept away. You know, you ever had someone on the job that just start talking about you for no reason, trying to get you fired, trying to get you swept into the unemployment line? You know, could speak to King Sihon working in your life. You know, he rules from actually his capital from where he ruled from was Heshbon, which speaks to intelligence or reasoning. See, he's in Israel, you know, it's likened unto your mind. He's in your mind. This is where he's ruling and reigning. You know, he comes up against your intelligence, your reasoning, your ability to plan with cleverness, your ability to invent. You know, he has a stronghold within your mind. You know, but see, you can overcome him because Yah has given his land unto us. We have the victory in Yah. You know, also the children of Ammon, you know, which speaks to family or tribal. You're going to have some of your enemies is going to be those of your very own household. Does that sound familiar? You know, See, but Yah has given us the victory over that too.
Yes, yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Verses 11 and 12 says, in Gilead and the border of the Geshurites and the Maacathites and all of Mount Hermon and all of Bashan unto Salcah, all the kingdom of Og in Bashan, which reigned in Ashtaroth and in Edrei, who remained of the remnant of the giants, for these did Moshe smite and cast them out.
Yes.
Okay, so here it is. You know, we're also going to be having enemies, you know, within our heap of testimony, within our witnesses, those who pose as witnesses, you know, of Yah in our life. You know, we're going to have some enemies to overcome in that territory as well. You know, and the Geshurites, you know, the Geshurites are always with the Maacathites, you know, because, you know, together they form a bridge to pressure or persecution in a believer's life. You know, but even though, you know, this pressure or persecution comes, you know, we've been given the victory over this territory as well. You know, and Hermon, you know, means to seclude or sanctuary, you know, or that which is devoted to destruction or banned. You know, those are going to be some enemies that come up against us. That's, you know, again, they're going to make you think that they're of the sanctuary, but they're actually going to be devoted to destruction. You know, and they're going to be coming up against us. But again, Yah has given us the victory over these things. Bashan, which means fruitful or rich soil. And you have to know that the enemy is in the most fruitful place that's within Israel. So that means he's in the most fruitful place that's within you. You know, but Yah has given us the victory. So we can get them away from our fruitful soil, our rich soil, so that the seed that Yahshua plants in it can sprout forth and bear forth much fruit. You know, also Salcah, which speaks to migration or walking or lifting up the blind. You know, we're going to have enemies that's going to come up against our walk. You know, we're going to have enemies that, you know, we're going to even have enemies that we're going to lift up. You know, the verse that comes to mind is, you know, the blind guys. You know, many other people lifted up those blind guys, and they followed those blind guys, and they all fell in the ditch, right? You know, see, but God has given us the victory over these things. You know, the territory that was in which they ruled over within us, Yah has given it unto us. You know, and there's no time like the present to root them out. You know, all the kingdom of Og in Bashan, Og means to bake. You know, he was a baker, you know, but he liked to use wheat. You know, and we're depicted as wheat in Scripture. You know, and he wants to bake us in as bread in this hearth. You know, in the hottest part of the oven, the floor of the fireplace or oven. You know, this is the type of situation he wants to put us in, and this is the type of situation he will put us in. But we have the victory again. You know, these, you know, yes, these some horrible enemies that we have, but we've been given the victory over them all.
Yes.
You know, we have Ashtaroth, which means to increase, to grow, riches. You know, thought searching, star. You know, we're going to have enemies that's going to come up against our increase. Going to come up against us growing. Going to come up against, you know, our finances. You know, going to even come up against our thoughts. You know, but we have a victory over them too.
Yeah.
You know, and Edrei, you know, means goodly pasture, strength to make fruitful or productive, to bear or conceive seed. And this is huge, see, because, you know, if you don't, we've been given the victory over Edrei, but if you don't defeat him, then, you know, you're not going to be able to bear or conceive seed. You're not going to become fruitful. And, you know, and Yahshua already told us what happens to those who don't become fruitful. They're even going to be pruned from the vine. Amen? You know, but see, this is the only way we overcome these enemies is through Moshe, through the teachings of Moshe, through the scripture, the Torah, the prophets and the writings, what is referred to as the Old Testament. You know, we're going to need this word to overcome these enemies that's in our life. You know, and trust me, you know, all of us that seek to wrestle with evil and good and want to prevail by holding on to Elohim, you know, will meet these enemies along the way. You know, because we all have to travel the same journey.
Yes.
Verses 13 and 14. Nevertheless, the children of Israel expelled not the Geshurites nor the Maacathites, but the Geshurites and the Maacathites dwell among the Israelites until this day. How unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, so that tells us right there, you know, that we're going to always have to deal with this, with the Geshurites and the Maacathites, and as I said, they're always presented together. You know, we're going to always have to deal with this bridge to pressure in our lives. You know, and the enemy is going to cross this bridge, and they're going to come over and they're going to put pressure in our lives. They're going to persecute us. They're going to seek to depress us.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, we have to fight them off. You know, they didn't get complete victory over them, so neither will we. You know, so it's something that we're going to have to deal with. You know, but He will allow us to win battle after battle.
Yes.
You know, He will allow us to win battle after battle. All we have to do is just keep on following His word. You know, verse 14, only unto the tribe Levi or Levi, He gave none inheritance. The sacrifices of Yahuwah Elohim of Israel made by fire are their inheritance, as He said unto them. You know, and Levi means joint to as well. See, and they were meant to be a bridge unto Yah. You know, they are supposed to be joint to the Most High. Now, they don't get an inheritance. Their inheritance is Yah. You know, it's in they're quoting from Deuteronomy 18:1 and 2. It says, the priests, the Levites, and all the tribe of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire and His inheritance. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. Yahuwah is their inheritance, as He hath said unto them. You know, so this is what we are to, you know, for those of us who are called to be the Levites, those of us who are called to be joined to Yah, we're to be in the earth as a bridge, you know, for any and everyone who wants to travel over to Yah. You know, and He's our inheritance. Now, let me have my next reader read verses 15 through 17, please, of Joshua 13.
And Moses gave unto the tribe of the children of Reuben inheritance according to their families. And their coast was from Aroer, that is the bank of the river Arnon, and the city that is in the midst of the river, and all the plain by Medaba. Heshbon, and all her cities that are in the plain, Dibon, and Mathbal, and Beth-Baal-meon.
Okay, now we just got finished with what was given to Manasseh, you know, and if we want to be as Manasseh, you know, whose name means causing to forget or cause to forget, you know, Manasseh received his name after Joseph came into power, you know, after he was exalted by Yah and was caused to forget all his ills and troubles. You know, if we overcome all those enemies we just spoke of, we can be as Manasseh as well, you know, and overcome all these ills and troubles, you know. So, all right, so now we're going to get into Reuben. You know, Reuben means see ye a son. You know, so we're going to learn that what enemies that we have to overcome in order to be as Reuben, be as a son of the Most High, you know, on this side of the Jordan. Okay? First of all, their coast was from Aroer, which means nudity of situations. Again, you know, we're going to have to fight that on this side of the Jordan. We're going to have to keep on fighting the nudity of situations. You're going to find yourselves, you know, out in the midst of nowhere, seemingly, and you're just going to be you, yourself, and, you know, you. And the only thing that you're going to have to depend on is Yah. You know, you're going to be, you know, fully exposed. And the only one you're going to have to be able to depend on is Yah, and He is more than enough.
Yes.
You know, in fact, you know, that's a big part of the wilderness experience, is so that you learn that He is more than enough. You know, and whenever you find yourself in that nudity of situations, when you're in those situations when you feel like, you know, you're just totally exposed, the enemy is up against you, it looks like there's no way out, you know you're right there. You have to just learn to trust Yah and know that your shouting for joy is right around the corner. You just cannot learn the lesson from natural Israel. Don't start complaining and murmuring. You know, start shouting for joy, knowing that, you know, Yah is about to work a miracle in your life. You know, see, it got to the point to where when they were in their wilderness experience, Israel would get frustrated with the nudity of situations. They would get frustrated when they found themselves in situations and circumstances that actually, you know, left them exposed. You know, we don't have any food. You know, all our stores of food is gone. You know, they found themselves in the nudity of situations, and they found, you know, themselves without food, and they're saying, you know, we're in the middle of the wilderness, we're in the middle of the desert, where are we going to get food? There's no food. Our food is ran out. What are we going to do? You know, see, but that's just an opportunity for Yah to show Himself mighty in your life. He rained down manna for them. He's no respecter of persons, so if He would do it for them, don't you know that He'd do it for you too?
That's right.
You know, if need be, He'll part the sea for you. If need be, He'll rain down manna for you.
Yeah,
If need be, He'll bring water from a rock for you.
yeah, He will.
See, this is why these things are here, so that we can know and understand that even though we may find ourselves in situations and circumstances that are dire, you know, Yah will never leave nor forsake us.
Amen.
You know, so we have to know this, you know, because the wilderness experience, you know, is real. It is real. You know, but it's during this wilderness experience that we learn to trust in Yah. And if you don't learn to trust them on the east side of the yard, then you can forget about getting on the west side.
Really?
I'm just telling you. You know, it didn't happen for natural Israel. It's not going to happen for spiritual Israel. You know, now, again, we have the Devon. We're going to have those that's going to come up against, you know, the fight against our water of quiet, our waters of rest or grief. You know, we're going to have those that's going to be enemies, you know, against our, you know, our good counsel that causes us to be at peace with Yah. You know, there's going to be enemies that's going to come up against that. You know, we have to know these things. We have to, you know, Yah is telling us the end from the beginning. He's letting us know what we need, what we're going to have to go through.
Yeah.
You know, ahead of time. How awesome is that? That's awesome. You know, He's letting us know ahead of time. So you don't have to be surprised when these things come about. See, but so many people do get surprised. So many people look up and, oh my God, why is this happening to me? You know, seems like ever since I got baptized, ever since I started believing, started walking in this way, seems like the whole world is against me. It's supposed to be. That's by design. It's supposed to be that way. You know, look at all these enemies they had to conquer. But Yah gave them the victory over all of them.
Yeah.
All this land that they had to overcome, that they had to take for their own, you know, can be likened unto you in your own life.
Yeah.
You know, your Father from above, you know, you're just like that Israelite that was born in the wilderness. You know, they go over into the promised land, you know, the land that the newborn creature, the spiritual being within you inherits is your flesh body, the dust of the land. You know, we were made from the dust of the earth.
Yeah.
You know, so that spiritual man within you inherits a type of land just as well as Israel inherited a type of land. You know, and there's giants in that land that must be conquered. You know, don't nobody leave out of the world to follow Yah and don't have to deal with some giants in their land.
That's right.
You know, there's giants in their land. Don't just because, you know, you say, I do, Yah, I'm yours. You know, just because you're baptized and you say, hey, I'm covenanted to you. You know, all your troubles don't just magically get washed away. No, it don't work that way. Wish it did, but it don't. You know, you're going to have King Sihon, and he's going to be in Heshbon. That is in your intelligence, in your reasoning, in your ability to plan with cleverness, in your ability to invent. He's going to be there in your mind working against you.
Yeah.
And it's only through Yah that you're going to be able to overcome him. You're going to be moping and going to have times of moping and sorrow and abundance of knowledge that's going to come up against you and what you're trying to do in Yah. And the only way that you're going to be able to conquer it is through Yah, specifically through the tutelage of Moshe. And then you have these high places of Baal that done set themselves up within you that you're going to have to overcome. You're going to have Beth Baal Meon, the house of the Lord of habitation, that have set up shop within you. And you're going to have to overcome them. Yes, the enemy is dwelling in you too. They're in the land. Yeah, verses 18 through 20, it says, and Yahazah, and Kedemoth, and Mephaath, and Kiryathaim, and Sibmah, and Zaret Shahar, in the mount of the valley, and Beth Peor, and Ashdoth Pisgah, or Pisgah, and Beth Yeshimoth. You know, these are some more lands that we're going to have to overcome. Yahazah means to stamp or trodden or treading down. The enemy is going to try to stamp on you. They're going to try to trod you down. You have to know this. You expect it. You know, there's going to be, those that are from Kedemoth, they're going to confront you. You know, they're going to confront you and not for your good. You know, but that's okay. You're going to have those Mephaath, that's going to be shining forth, trying to illuminate you, going to give you a certain appearance, a certain beauty, to make you run after them. Going to try to force you to walk in their will, to force you to do things their way. Don't succumb to them. You're going to have Kiryathaim, you're going to have a city of enemies, even within yourself. Anyone ever be sitting there and trying to study the word or do something righteous, and all of a sudden you get these crazy thoughts popping in your head that goes against everything the word has to say? Yeah. So now you know where it comes from, right? These things are going to happen. You can expect it. You can expect it. Then we have Beth Peor, the house of the gate, which means to open the mouth wide. You're going to have those that open the mouth wide to try to consume you. Whether they're speaking ill into your life or literally trying to just consume you from the way. Then you have those of Ashdoth Pisgah, the spoiler of the survey, which means to examine or look at one comprehensively. The enemy is going to come up against your ability to examine the situation, to look at it comprehensively. That's why you're not to lean to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge the Most High, and He shall direct your paths. You have to remember the Word. The Word is what's going to lead and guide you. It's what's going to give you the victory. This is how Yah works. We have Beth Yeshimoth, it means the house of the precepts and statutes. Also means the house of waste. So we're going to have, the lawgivers. They're going to be making laws that's going to come up against you. Going to come up against you as a believer. They made some now. Gay marriages and all that comes up against you. So we have to expect these things. You know, but Yah has given us the victory. He's given us his word, the word that we need to overcome. You know, so we just have to keep that in mind. Verses 21 and 22, all the cities of the plain and all the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, which reigned in Heshbon, whom Moshe smote with the princes of Midian, Evi, and Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Rebah, which were the dukes of Sihon, dwelling in the country. Okay, so now, you know, he's given us the victory. If we want to be Reubens, if we want to be as sons of Elohim, you know, be fathered from above in this wilderness, then we're going to have to take all the land of the kingdom of Sihon, the Amorites, you know, which reigned in Heshbon. And of course, again, you know, he's in our intelligence, he's in our reasoning, in our ability to plan, you know, with cleverness, you know. Now, he has some help. You know, some of his princes, his rulers that work with him, you know, they are Midianites. And Midian means strife or brawling or contention. Okay, so the Midianites, as far as we're concerned, is only there for contention. Now, how are they going to contend with us? You know, their princes or rulers in our life speaks to EV, which means my desire. You know, so they're going to fight against us with our desires. You know, they're going to fight against us with our desires, with our wishes, with the things that we want. You know, try to get us to exalt those things that we want over what Yah wants for us. You know, then we have Rekem, which means versicolor, which speaks to changing in color. You know, now this enemy is going to come up against us and try to affect how we reflect the light. And of course, we know Yahshua is the light. We know Yah is the light. They're going to try to come up against us to get us to change in color. That is, get us to change how we reflect the light of Elohim. You know, so that is crucial. You have to grab that, because if they get you to change how you reflect the light, then you're not representing Yah the right way. Okay? You know, and they're going to try to get you to worship their rock. You know, and they're going to try to get you to be as their herd, their white linen, which speaks to righteousness. They're going to try to get you to worship their rock, their God. They're going to try to get you to walk in their type of righteousness. You know, and they're going to try to Rebah, cause you to lay down for calculation. You know, now if you look at the Midianites, and if you know your word and you know what happened with the Midianites and Israel, then you see the names of these rulers align right up with actually what happened, you know, when they were confronted with the Midianites under the direction of this next guy in verse 22, Balaam, also the son of Beor, the soothsayer. Did the children of Israel slay with the sword among them that were slain by them? Yes, we have to slay him too. You know, and his name means confounding the people. He's going to work as our enemy to keep us confounded. You know, to keep us the way that he prevailed against Israel was to get them to actually, you know, fall victim to their desires. You know, which put them in contention with Yah. Got them to reflect, you know, to change how they reflect the light. Got them to hook up or covenant with another rock other than Yahshua. Got them to view another type of righteousness. And got them to lay down for copulation with their women. Now that should be enough to jog your memory back to the story of the Midianites. You know, that's exactly what they did, you know, under the direction of Balaam, who was a prophet, you know, which became a corrupt prophet because he was chasing after money. You know, and his father's name means a burning torch, a burning or a torch. You know, so he was Balaam, the son of Beor. You know, he was the confounder of the people, the son of a light. You know, and he was a soothsayer. He's representing a false prophet. You know, so you have to watch out for them too. Yes, they're going to be in the way as well. You know, but Yah is giving us the victory.
Yes. Hallelujah.
And he's letting us know what we're coming up against even before we come up against it. They didn't have that luxury.
That's true.
Verses 23 through 26, and the border of the children of Reuben was Jordan, and the border thereof, this was the inheritance of the children of Reuben after their families, the cities and the villages thereof. And Moshe gave inheritance unto the tribe of God, even unto the children of God, according to their families, and their coast was Yazer, and all the cities of Gilead, and to have the land of the children of Ammon, and unto Aroer, that is before Rabbah. Okay, so, you know, we just went over Reuben, and what, you know, you have to use Torah, the enemies that you have to overcome in order to be as Reuben, you know, to be as a son. You know, now we're about to get into, you know, what you have to overcome if you want to be as Gad, which means good fortune. You know, so here it is. Their border is from Yazer, which means Yah helps. You know, so first and foremost, you know, you have to know that this is your territory. You know, whenever you get in trouble, you know, if you want good fortune, then let Yah help you.
Amen.
Let Yah help you.
Yeah.
Don't try to go off on your own. Don't try to do it your way. Don't be like Saul and, you know, and figure out your own type of righteousness. You know, trust in Yah. Just wait on him. You know, let him help. You know, all the way to Gilead. Gilead means a heap of witnesses. So again, a heap of testimony or witnesses. So again, we have this being our border. Our enemies are going to come through, you know, witnesses. They're going to, you know, look like they're trying to help us. They're going to look like they're of Yah. You know, Ammon, you know, tribe or family. You know, some of them are going to be even within our own families. You know, our air, you know, can't get away from the nudity of situations. We're going to constantly be finding ourselves in, you know, when we're going through the wilderness experience, you're going to constantly be finding yourselves in our air, in the nudity of situations in which no one can help you but Yah anyway, so you might as well just wait on him.
That's right.
You know, and you're going to find yourself up against with the inhabitants of Rabbah, which means great or powerful. Yes, you're going to have great and powerful enemies. You know, there's giants. Yeah, they're great and powerful. But Yah has given us the victory.
That's right.
You know, and from Heshbon, you're going to, you know, again, they're going to be in our intelligence. They're going to be in our mind, you know, affecting our reasoning ability and our ability to plan and invent, you know, and do these type of things. You know, we have to overcome. You know, and Yah's going to give us the victory. And Ramath Mispeh, did I even read verse 26?
No.
Oh, and from Heshbon unto Ramath Mispeh and Betonim, and from Mahanim unto the border of Debir. Okay, now I read it. All right, so they're going to be coming up against us, you know, from Ramath Mispeh, which means the height of the watchtower. You know, they're going to see us way before we get there, you know, and they're going to jump out on us, and, you know, it's not going to be good. You know, but Yah will be with us, you know, so it'll work out in our favor. You know, and from Betonim, you know, they're going to come at us from, it means hollows or cavities, you know, any holes that we leave open. You know, it also means pistachio nuts, so watch out for them. You know. There's enemies in the pistachio nuts, you know. you know, Mahanaim, you know, which means two armies or two camps. You know, and the beer speaks to an oracle, a word, a sanctuary. Yes, there's going to be enemies that's going to be coming from, you know, where you think that the help should be coming from. Hello? You know, yes, you know, he's telling us. Verses 27 and 28, in the valley of Beth Haram and Beth Nimrah and Sukkot and Zaphon and the rest of the kingdom of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the Yarden and his border, even unto the edge of the sea of Kinnereth. On the other side, Yarden eastward, we have Beth Aram, which means the house of the exalted. You know, you're going to have those that are exalted in your life come up against you as enemies. Yes, you're going to have Beth Nimrod. You know, those are going to be as the leopardess. You know, going to try to give you some of her spots. You know, those Sukkot, those which dwell in booths. You know, they're going to try to come up against you. You looking for them to come out of the house and they running out of shacks at you. You know, Zaphon, which means to hide or hidden, which means north. And this is the, again, speak to north, you know, and a lot of these are going to be hidden. They're going to be hiding, waiting on us. You know, so they're going to have the element of surprise on their side. You know, so that's an important note to keep in mind. You know, you're not going to see all this stuff coming. You know, when they come at you, you're not going to always see it. They're going to jump out and surprise you with a surprise attack at times. You know, but we have the victory over Sihon. Sihon, of course, means warrior to sweep away. Heshbon, he rules and reigns in your mind. You know, in your very intelligence, your reasoning ability. You know, and all the way up to Yarden. You know, this is the territory that God has given us, which means a descender, their descent, and Kinnereth, a harp. He's going to try to, you know, interfere with your praise, you know, and use your praise against you. How can he use your praise against you? You know, when you're praising the wrong one. You know, some people listen to their harps, you know, and, you know, when they go to the club, you know, that's their type of harp, you know, and then you have those who listen to the harp of Elohim. You know, those who are worshiping Yah. You know, so your praise is a very powerful weapon. You know, I suggest you get acquainted with it.
Hallelujah.
You know, and this is the inheritance of the children of Gad after their families, the cities, and their villages. Verses 29 through 31. And Moshe gave inheritance unto the half-tribe of Manasseh, and this was the possession of the half-tribe of the children of Manasseh by their families. And their coast was from Mahanaim, all Bashan, all the kingdom of Og, or all king of Bashan, and all the towns of Yair, and which are Bashan 80 cities. Okay, and we have Mahanaim, meaning, again, two armies or two camps. Bashan, fruitful or rich soil. Og, meaning to bake bread in the hearth. And Bashan, fruitful, rich soil. We already went over all of those. And it says all the towns of Yair, which I forgot to define. So I'll let you know later. And then we have, in verse 31, we have the half-tribe of Gilead, which again means heap of testimony or witnesses. Ashtaroth, increase to grow. Riches, Idri, and Makir, which means salesman or something sold or selling. Yes, your enemy will try to sell you stuff as well as try to sell you. You know, so you have to be careful. Be careful of that. Verses 32 and 33. These are the countries which Moshe did distribute for inheritance in the plains of Moab on the other side, Yarden by Jericho eastward. Moab means from father or of his father. And of course, we just went over Jordan, and Jericho means fragrant. The moon or city of palm trees speaks to. And verse 33, but unto the tribe of Levi, Moshe gave not any inheritance. Yahuwah Elohim of Israel was their inheritance, as he said unto them. You know, and this is also a quote from Numbers 18, 20 and 21, which says, and Yahuwah spake unto Aaron, thou shalt have no inheritance in the land, neither shalt thou have any among them. I am thy pardon, thine inheritance among the children of Israel. And behold, I have given the children of Levi all the tenth in Israel for an inheritance, for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. You know, so that is Joshua 13. That's all I have for you. Pray with a blessing or two.